And we are back again for another night of the World E-Hockey League playoffs here on Twitch and YouTube now. Hi, everyone. T-Sibs, Dog Chow, Fear with you as well. We've got some guests who are going to join us for the pregame. We'll get to them in just a second, but thanks for joining us tonight on the broadcast. Round number 2 tonight, games 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup Season 1 finals here on the WEHL. Dog, how's it going, buddy?
Doing good. How are you guys out there?
Doing fine. Fert, how's it going? You ready for round 2 here?
Oh yeah, it's definitely been interesting to see how these are playing off. I can only imagine how much better it's going to get.
Certainly had a fun round 1 with a lot of different things going on, all sorts of fun games and then just weird crap happening at the same time. But we're finally on to round 2, and we've got a couple of guests here, so why don't you guys take it away and introduce them, and let's get the pregame rolling here.
Go ahead, Ian.
All right, so we got a co-commentator joining us for yet again, White Knucklers. What's up, man?
Hey, boys. I'm very excited for round 2. I will be joining you in the next 30 minutes for pregame, and then I have a game at 9 and 10 tonight. So looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right.
We have a couple pregame interviews here. You want to go ahead and start off, Heedless, kind of introduce yourself, what team you play for, and kind of what your role on the team is.
Yeah, no problem. Hello, I am Heedless Gem 420. I am a center for the Vancouver Canucks. I usually play the second games most of the time, so I guess number 2, I don't know. We're a full team. There's no line 1 over there in Vancouver. We're just a squad who plays different guys, play together on different nights. So, we're excited about these playoffs. We're excited about our series with Anaheim coming up. I think it's going to be a sweaty series. I'll be surprised if it goes any less than 7, to tell you the truth. Should be an interesting night for sure. First night of the playoffs.
Let's see. So, going forward against Anaheim, obviously, as you said, you don't expect it to go any less than 7. Is there kind of like a hope that it goes less than 7, or do you kind of already know gut-wise that it's going to go 7?
Well, you know what? Everybody would like it not to go 7, You get the free rest you don't have to worry about. Gives you the rest of the week to do, other stuff than being around. Everybody hopes for that, but, when you get to the second round of the playoffs, teams are better than round 1, you expect it to be harder than the round before. So, you know what I mean? I respect a lot of those guys over there. I know a few of them. So, it's going to be a good series, I believe.
Hey, Heedless, White Knucklers here. I just have a question for you.
Sure, no problem, bud.
So, a lot of the league, they've been saying that Anaheim has the best goaltending in the league. How do you plan on getting pucks past those guys? And also, who's Kyle we taking?
Who's Kyle we taking? I don't know. It's parked in Harvard Yard, bud, but I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? There's plenty of solid goaltenders in this league. You kind of just gotta kind of beat them like you would any other one. Try to put traffic in front. Try to put shots on, make the goalie have to work. Just basic hockey stuff.
So is that kind of the game plan going in, is work your points and try to get shots through?
Well, yeah, you always want to get a good movement going. If you're smart in hockey, that's what you want to do. You want to get shots from wherever, if the points, the slots, the circles, like if it's the wrap, you just want to put the goalie and the defense and the other team to work. You don't want them to have their time to do what they want. You kind of want them to play your game.
Hey, Heedless, Sibs, question for you. First 4 games of your playoffs, obviously a sweep, but giving up 14 goals in 4 games and maybe not a complete shutdown defensively. Was there anything on the defensive side that you think you guys can improve on that you noticed, or Is it just that it was such a wide open 4 games against your opponent?
It was, you know what I mean? Like, after every game, I'm sure there's stuff that any player would like to go back and change, you know? We took a couple of penalties that we probably shouldn't. You know, sometimes miss a guy. But you always want to work on improving, like, during the series. Like, even though we swept Edmonton, you know what I mean? They still had a pretty good team. They made the playoffs. They fought in every game, like, you know? So it's just you got to work on your game and try to do the best once you get to certain rounds. You know, each round's going to be tougher, like I said.
Heedless, how do you feel matching up against a really strong Anaheim team?
I think we match up well. Like I said, we're a team of, like, it's not just one guy playing hero hockey. We're a team that works together, and we win as a team, we lose as a team, we battle as a team, we're there for each other. You know, we have a pretty good Discord where, you know, some Discords you have cancers and stuff in it. We don't got that in ours. We're pretty much like just all buds and having a good time playing and competing.
Kick over to Zomboy here for a second, and obviously round 1 was an interesting round for you guys. A lot of things going on, obviously, with your opponent who was suspended. Yeah, right. How do you stay focused in a series like that? You played well, incredibly well the first 2 games. You're up 2-0. There's a lot of distraction, and maybe there's an opportunity for your guys to relax a little too much. What was being said between everybody? How did you guys stay focused and get ready for the next day?
Okay, I'll tell you the honest truth, okay? The honest truth. We didn't care.
Okay.
We didn't change anything. We didn't really focus on anything that was happening there. We saw everyone was talking in the chat, you know. We just kept going, and all we wanted was to just go in and win. And that's it, you know what I mean?
Right.
We went in to win. We played the best defensive hockey we could play, and we pushed our offense off our best defensive hockey we could possibly bring out. So they didn't have much to, as far as I'm concerned, against us offensively, because we shut them down as far as I'm concerned. But I have no idea how this Pittsburgh team's going to play. I have no idea what they're like, but I'm hoping it's going to be good.
Hey, Zomboy. Knucklers
What up,
here.
brother?
So Pittsburgh does do a lot of talking in the Discord. Do you think you're going to continue just focus on playing, or do you think you're going to get involved in the chirping?
Let's not get okay. I shouldn't say my team doesn't chirp, because they kind of, you know, we got a couple of talkers, you know, obviously, as everybody can see. But you know, in our team chat, it's, you know, there hasn't been one argument all season. There's nobody that shits on each other. Nobody that tells people how to play. And I think like the fact that we're also like we're all friends, man. You know, we go in there to win, and we have fun doing it, as far as I'm concerned.
No, that's good to hear. So my brother and I like to consider ourselves the bookie of the NHL community, and I have you guys as a plus 150 series underdog here. What does your team need to do to pull off this upset?
Well, that's not going to be the first round we've come into as the underdogs. So, as far, you know, no disrespect to Pittsburgh and their team, but I honestly was more worried about playing against Philly. Obviously, the way the season ended up and the team they had, but you know, we're just going to go out and play the same way we did against Philly, and hopefully it shakes them up a bit.
And what's your strategy with lines? Are you going out with your first line the first 2 games, or are you trying to save them a little bit?
It's tough, because some guys can't make it, some guys can. You know, we got lucky the other week, and we rolled with the same lines back to back. You know, but this week we got a couple guys that are in one day, out one day. So this is going to be our first round, mixing it up a tiny bit, but trying to stick with our core from last week against Philly.
Yeah, I mean, as everybody knows, chemistry is huge, so that could definitely play an impact. How was your team feeling after the upset against Philly? Were you guys happy? Were you guys pretty cool, calm, and collected?
I'm pretty sure all of us cracked a bottle and had a couple drinks in front of our TVs that night.
Yeah. What's your drink of choice?
Me? Oh, rum and Coke, brother. Rum and Coke.
Rum and Coke. All right.
Or Bush
That's
beer.
all I
Bush
have.
Beer.
You got the
Fort,
information
dog,
you
guys
wanted.
got anything?
I love Bush. Bush is the best.
I have a question for Zomboy. What was your what was your outtake on everything that happened with Philly? You know, with the suspension and kind of everything that had happened. You know, what went through your mind when you were seeing it all escalate?
You guys are trying to get me to chirp, aren't you?
Well, they are. I had a legitimate question. I don't know what they're asking here.
No. Honestly, I'm telling you, we came in against Philly scared. Like, it's no secret. We weren't walking in there thinking we were going to beat them easily, or let alone beat them. And after the first two games, it kind of just put everyone's morale through the roof, and everyone was tight together and kept going that way. And now we're coming in against Philly, a team that we looked at the stats and they were pretty even against Pittsburgh, I think, this season. So, we're not going to expect any less.
Well,
that's
why I asked the question I asked, because, you beat him thoroughly. You're playing tremendous hockey those first two games, and then when something like that's going on with Philly, you got to try and make sure all the guys are staying focused. And it sounds like from your earlier answer that your guys were able to do that, just not even pay attention to it.
No, there's two or three of my guys on my team that like to have fun and throw it their 2 cents every here and there, but they don't go out there they don't do it to chirp. I don't think, like, maybe they do it just to push their friends with some of these guys, but I don't know. None of these guys on my team are considered trolls, I would say.
You said earlier that you were scared to go into Philly, and I hear a lot of players say that they're scared to go into a game or a series. Can you describe what that means? Because I'm not entirely sure.
Well, I shouldn't have chosen the word scared, but they were the first place team. They were the chosen team to win everything next to St. Louis, I think, if I misunderstood. But, yeah, and other than that, when we came out on top, it was just like, it blew our minds. Obviously, the players we acquired helped, and we're just going to push it forward with those guys. Hopefully they can keep us going. Yes, I'm talking about your brother.
Was that the only accusation you made, or was there others?
We got another guy, his gamer tag's Bear, but we got him a couple games. I think we got 4 or 5 games left of the season, and he can perform. He's a good lad. He's always talking. He's big smile on his face. I can tell through his TV. He's always smiling type of guy,
Yeah, I've had some good banter with him in the Discord. He seems like a good guy.
He's a good lad. He's a very good lad, yeah.
That's good. It sounds like you guys have a good, close-knit team over there, so best of luck to you in the series.
Yes, we can.
Hey, go back to Heedless for a second. You got, I believe you got Beer and Pickles going here. He's got a goal, 6 goals so far in the playoffs. You've gotten some good output from your players offensively. Is there anything about Anaheim specifically that you're concerned about, or does that not matter to you because of the amount of offense that you're getting?
It matters to us, like, you know what I mean? Like, every team's trying to do their thing. You're trying to take it away. Like, it matters, but the key is for us to play our game and not try to get into their game, if you know what I mean by that.
Well, has there been a specific style in the West? I mean, typically that's not the case in these leagues, but there obviously was. The East looked like there was a lot more closer competition when you look at the records. There was maybe a little more disparity between top and bottom in the West. Was there a different play of game there, or what might be different about playing the teams in the West that we're not recognizing?
I wouldn't say that it's different. It's just that, where the top teams are just playing their game and not really focusing on what the other teams are doing, probably, where the other teams might be focusing on what the teams above them are doing.
What do you think about?
Other than that,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, other than that, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what those guys are doing in their Discord. I just know what we're doing in ours and how we're going into the game and our mindsets. So.
And what do you get your quick thoughts on the other series tonight, St. Louis and Minnesota, and what Minnesota was able to do against Seattle? Give us your quick thoughts on both of those teams.
Well, you know, St. Louis is like he said, one of the team's favorite to be there at the end. They have solid players. You know what I mean? They're a good squad, but Seattle wasn't no pushovers either. And Minnie went out there and they beat them. What was the final in that series? What, 4-2 or something like that? In 6 or something, I believe. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, in
but
6, yeah.
Minnesota has Minnesota, like, don't let them fool you. They got some talent over there too. You know what I mean? Ontario put together a pretty solid squad over there in Minnie. You know. So it's going to be a good series. Like I said, I don't know how confident St. Louis is going into it, but from what I
They're
read,
very confident.
From what I read in the thing, so is Minnie. You know what I mean?
Oh, I tell you.
So it looks like both teams are going into this very confident on their side, which, you know what I mean. When you make it to this round, you should. So it's going to be interesting to watch those guys. But like I said, we're going to be focused on our series with the Ducks and worry about the next round when it comes.
Well, clearly, yeah. I mean, when you do what Minnesota did and you beat a team like that, I think that has to carry them a little bit more into into the next round. They did something where there wasn't a lot of pressure on them. They win a series, and they're still playing with house money, and I think that's got to be dangerous for St. Louis, no matter how well they played the first round.
Well, I would leave that to the St. Louis guy to answer that question probably for you.
Did you have a preference of who you wanted to play this round, or again, didn't matter to you?
To us? No,
Yeah.
It didn't matter to us. Like, we were willing to play whoever was coming out to play us. Like, we're coming into this playoffs to play and have fun and compete. Like, you know what I mean? And just play our game and work together as a team.
So I have a question. Sorry, I have a question for both of you guys, Heedless and Zomboy. Can you give the listeners an idea of who to look out for in this series on your team? I guess just maybe name 3 guys that we should look out for.
You want me to tell you who 3 guys on my team that everyone should watch out for?
Yeah, who do you think is going to be effective or a difference maker, or just bring team chemistry in general?
Okay, my whole team, and my whole team. Oh no, I can't answer that, man, because my team will just start chirping me. So no, I can't answer that.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
That's probably a smart answer.
I'll just say Bear because he wants me to say his name so friggin' badly right now.
Okay.
All right, so we'll look out for Bear.
Just Bear. Yeah, that's it.
Just Bear.
I'm going to have to say the same thing for him. Actually, like I said, we're a whole team, so it's not really one guy you have to watch out for.
Well, you said 3.
We work together. Well, all right, fine. My team, my guys, and
that's good.
my butts. All right, how about that? Like I said, you know what I mean? Right now, it just looks like Bear and Pickles is doing the work, but you know what I mean? There's little stuff behind the scenes that's going to it. It's not just one guy. Like I said earlier in the year, where some teams just have that one line.
All right, well, I'll talk about St. Louis and 3 guys to look out for. One of them is frontline Carey, the goalie. He's been talking that he is pretty much the Berlin Wall back there, so he said he's going to shut everybody down. RV Clutch leading the league in playoff points. Got to watch out for him. And then we got the Norris winner back there, Nasty. So we'll see if those guys can perform here.
Nasty. That's Alex, eh? Nasty Uncle Dad?
Yes.
Alex and Justin, those 2 funny fellas.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking from St. Louis, I don't know much about Minnesota. They obviously pulled off the upset against Seattle the whole week. Thought Seattle was going to win, so I don't know what to expect, but I'm not going to take them lightly, and we're going to come out hard.
All right, guys. Well, I don't know if anybody else has any more questions for our guests here. Are we wrapping up with Heedless and Zomboy? Or we got anything else to ask him?
I got one more question for Heedless. Actually, matter of fact, both of them. Are you guys shocked on the whole series between Minnesota and Seattle?
I wouldn't say shocked. Like I said, Mini put together a decent squad over there, so I wouldn't say shocked. More surprising that it ended the way it did, but definitely not shocked by it.
So you're thinking maybe Minnesota would pull it off in like 6-7 games like it did?
I'm saying they have a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm sure St. Louis thinks maybe less, just like Mini thinks, I'm sure, less.
What about you, Zomboy? What do you think on that series?
Good talk, Zomboy.
I had a question for you guys. You know, the big turnaround and the big talk of the league was the Montreal Canadiens. You know,
yeah.
What do you guys think of, you know, a guy taking over a team that at one point was like 4-16, and now they're in the second round of the playoffs? Like, you know, what do you guys think what do you guys think of that guy? I guess that would make sense.
It sounds like that guy who took over put in work and put together a pretty solid squad. It sounds like he did a solid job over there. I have to give him props.
Yeah, that guy is, I believe, Midnight Fapper is his game tag. Yeah.
Oh, is that who it is? Well, he's also a really solid tendy. He's on my LG Team Canada, so.
Ah, okay.
He's a good dude.
There we go. That was the connection. That was the connection. I was wondering where it was. Okay.
Hey, you know what? He's a good dude. He brings a lot of fun to the Discord. I know that. So.
All right.
You know.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to let you guys go. Best of luck in the next round here, the first couple of games, and thanks for coming on tonight.
All right. Thanks for having me, fellas. Hopefully, talk to you next round, and good luck in all the series who are still in. And
Yeah, Zomboy, glad we could chat for a little bit here.
And Heedless, thanks. Appreciate your time, bud.
no problem. Anytime. You guys have a good night. I appreciate the show. It's always a fun
Have a
listen.
good one, Heedless.
Thank you. That's Heedless and Zomboy joining us on the pregame. We take a quick look at the brackets. As you see, it's the Wild who, as we talked about, beating Seattle 4-2. The Blues sweeping Winnipeg 4-0. Canucks also with a sweep over the Oilers, and maybe we could talk a little bit about that. But the Ducks beating Nashville 4-1. I think those last two series are a little bit of a surprise to me, and I would have thought the Oilers would have placed a little bit more of a fight there. And Nashville looked good in Game 1 and just couldn't do anything the next four games. Or let's start with you, Dog. What was your thoughts about the Canucks sweeping the Oilers? Is that a poor showing for Edmonton, or is Vancouver that good?
I'd have to say I just think Vancouver is that good. I mean, Edmonton, I had them getting like maybe 1 or 2 games out of that series. Obviously, Vancouver, they're just very strong, and they were competing for that division title pretty much the whole season. So Edmonton barely squeaked into the playoffs. I mean, they had a really impressive showing towards the end of the season, not gonna lie, but I just don't think that their team was well matched up against really like Vancouver team that was pretty well they're pretty solid, well-round. You know, they had a lot of depth, more than Vancouver, or more than Edmonton did. So that's why that was why I was really high on Vancouver. I kind of sensed maybe like I didn't sense like a sweep, but I was thinking maybe like 5 games or so.
What about you?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I know that series, I had high hopes for Edmonton there, but going in the last week of the season there, Edmonton, came out strong, 2 hard-fought wins, and obviously Vancouver kind of, as I have said before, just kind of shit on a team. I didn't think too much. I didn't think that Vancouver had the confidence to go in and win it. But I mean, obviously they had the confidence and they had what it took to go in and win that game for them, or win that series. Sorry.
And we talked a little bit also about the other series, the Ducks sweeping Nashville. Also, again, we saw Nashville that last week, especially that last night. They looked like a pretty solid team. I thought they'd put up a bigger fight against Anaheim, and certainly after Game 1, we thought we were in for a good series, but they just kind of fell off the map after that first game, and really, they stayed close in the games, but just could never turn around and get the edge the way they did in Game 1.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was pretty shocked when Nashville stole that Game 1. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people were. But yet again, Nashville came into that series, stealing a victory, and that's what everyone thought. Maybe Anaheim was on upset watch, but I just think Anaheim was just too strong of a team to lose to Nashville, who was sitting on the ropes all season for that last playoff spot. So it was. It was pretty interesting at first after day 1, but then it started to fall apart, days 2 and 3. So.
Well, we're a couple of minutes away from the start of the games. We have a feed from St. Louis. They're gathering right now. Nobody else just yet, but hopefully we'll get some streams started up here and get going in these games. Again, quick look at the playoff bracket. On the East, we saw the Wings in that ridiculous series against Philly, taking that 4-2. Good effort by the rest of the guys who showed up for the Flyers for the next couple of nights. Those guys, to me, are that's the kind of player you want on your team, the ones who are going to show up and be there despite all the whining that might have been going on from some other players. The Wings taking out after taking the first 2 in that series. Pens beating New York in that one. The official is 4-1 because the last game was a straight-out breaking of the rules, so they didn't count that as actually they counted it as a win, so it is what it is. And they count a loss for one of the games that the Islanders actually won, so that's why it's 4-1. Canadians swept Toronto, and we saw the Senators in Columbus. And that was maybe not a series we talked a lot about, guys, but that was a pretty good one to watch. 4-2, but really both teams were pretty evenly matched. And, we could have gone to a Game 7 easily enough in that series. Both those teams played incredibly well as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think Montreal really, the Ottawa Senators, sorry. I think Ottawa kind of stole one there. They work hard. They're a great group of guys over there. They're fun to play with. They're good all the way around. Pooley is an excellent owner. He does a great job over there. After watching Game 1, I just kind of thought, that Ottawa was either really going to have to get their stuff together or, Columbus could have just taken it all, really.
Yeah, Ottawa is a pretty strong team. They just had a little rough start against a Columbus team who was on the absolute roll towards the end of the season when they won like the last 13 out of their 16 games for the season. That's pretty that's pretty dang impressive. That's 26 points right there. Towards the last 16 games of the season, and that's pretty much what got them into the playoffs, really. Because if it wasn't for that, I honestly couldn't see Columbus making it. It was most likely from what it was looking like before the stats got updated. It looked like Buffalo was most likely going to get into that last wild card spot, but as we all seen, Columbus actually got in over them. So
we took a look at the Pittsburgh-Detroit game right now. That just started up, and Pittsburgh just getting on the board right now. So it's 1-0 Penguins.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, quick attack. Hopefully Detroit can come back relatively quick here.
What a pass. Nice.
And Detroit tying it up right now as we listen into this broadcast provided by It's Days.
And their goalie getting an assist there. I mean, it's not very often you see one of those.
yeah, goalie assists are it's rare, but it happens.
Detroit getting another good opportunity. The offensive opportunities are flying right now in this game.
Nice save.
Getting a lot of quick movement in this game already, guys. and they're having
Sorry
fun.
about that, guys. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about, really, is about having fun, and just playing hockey. I always consider it that way, and it's not easy, coming into a playoff game and messing around and stuff in the party chat and trying to play at the same time. But these guys, they've been around long enough to understand, they've been around long enough to understand how to take it seriously in a way, and also mess around in the party chat.
More good chances for Detroit. I'm kind of surprised how easy it is for both teams to put the puck right in the slot and get great opportunities so far.
Yeah, I think this first game is going to be. I think it'll be more of an offensive battle, more than anything. Then as we'll see the series kind of work its way through, and I think the defense will tighten up as the series goes along.
St. Louis and Minnesota look like they're about ready to get started. If we can get any more streams, we'll let you know. Still waiting to see a few other streams we believe are going to start up.
No way he picked that up, dude. Yeah. The shit of the top end.
Mark, if he's just sit right in that low slot area, then he'll never have that. And then me and Berg will get the corners and behind the net. There you go. It's 1-1.
Yeah, I was holding the pass button, but...
Oh, fucker.
All right.
Minnesota St. Louis just got underway. You see with 7:40 left to go in this one, Detroit-Pittsburgh 1-1. It's kind of slowed down a little bit now. Some early game, quick attacks that have now kind of settled down into a more defensive posture on both sides.
Shot. Oh, nice try.
Oh, their goalie pro checked me because I was at a weird angle. Fuck.
Puck is thrown to Salvador. Now it's directed to Tim. And thrown down to Storm.
Once we get through this first, we'll get you over to Minnesota, St. Louis.
Lui, il y a moins qu'un pic, mais à passer, il fait cliquer, il l'a sorti dernier du deuxième round.
We also have the lineups for these games too. So
Yeah, go ahead and put that out there.
Fucking just a stick check battle.
St. Louis has jumped out to a 1-0 lead. 13:20 left to go in that one.
Bitch. Oh shit, why are 3 goes behind the net?
all right, so for Detroit we have left winger, it's Days, and then at center they have Captain Eura 55. At right wing they have Habs Rule 2014. Lefty they have Berg 83. Right D Thompson, low 92 MP 19 which is Thompson, and then goalie they have Fatboy 827. And that's the lineup Detroit is running for games 1 and 2 tonight.
See, that first period has just ended. We'll get you over to Minnesota and St. Louis now with the Blues ahead. 1-0, 9 minutes left to go. Looks like Ottawa is about ready to get going in their game too, so we'll be able to bring you that one shortly. And hopefully we'll get you a Ducks Vancouver feed soon as well. In St. Louis, you see just getting ahead now, 2-0.
Let's see if St. Louis can take advantage of this power play here. I mean, they're dominant enough 5-on-5. I mean, you give them an extra guy to that's got free room to kind of move around, and you know, I don't know if that's what you want. You know, you don't want to have, you know, you don't want to give them an advantage if you don't have to.
Canucks are getting set up, so we'll be hopefully getting to that one soon. Ottawa's searching right now, so hopefully we'll have something to show you there. Give you a chance to listen to St. Louis and Minnesota on their feed.
Vision. Sky? Is that Sky? Not just you, it's Sky, because I thought it was player.
And St. Louis putting another one on the board. So quickly, Minnesota, after a fun first round, finding themselves down 3-0 in game 1 here. They struggled against Seattle game 1 too, so even if St. Louis pulls this one out, they can't be asleep in game 2.
Yeah, could definitely just kind of work it out, the jitters from over the weekend, and you know, hopefully a lot of these guys are playing and warming up together.
Moi, j'ai tout le temps vu partir par un slap ou juste
All right, looks like Anaheim and Vancouver are just loading into the lobby, and they are about to get in.
Same thing for Ottawa and Montreal. I'll be able to show you that game shortly as well.
It is 2-2 right now between Detroit and Pittsburgh, and it's about halfway through the second period. Oh, and Pittsburgh scores right in the slot. Pittsburgh goes up 3-2 with 8 minutes and 43 seconds remaining in the second period.
Quickly, this is becoming a bit of a high-scoring affair over there. We got all 4 games running right now, and I'm going to get you that one short. I'm going to get you to look at all of them here shortly. But for now, we'll get you switched back over to that Pittsburgh game.
And Pittsburgh scores again, up 4-2.
You get to see it right here. As Pittsburgh, as you mentioned, going ahead 4-2 now. This one might be more of a battle than we realized. It was hard to tell how good Pittsburgh was in that first series because of all that was going on, and they got a good fight from the Islanders early on, but they know what they're up against from a team that beat Philadelphia.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to sleep on a team that, just beat the best team in the league. I mean, these guys know that Detroit is no team to kind of just sleep on or kind of look away from. So, I think they're doing the best thing that they can do here, getting out to a 2-goal lead.
See the last few minutes ticking down here. We're going to go quad box and show you all 4 games right now going on. You've got Ottawa and Montreal, no score up in the upper right-hand corner. Upper left-hand corner, sorry. Lower left-hand, you just see St. Louis going ahead now 5-0 in early second period against Minnesota. Vancouver, Anaheim in the upper right, just getting underway. And you see lower right, Pittsburgh leading Detroit 4-2. Give you this look for a couple of minutes so you get a chance to look at all the games.
Anaheim going up 1-0 on Vancouver here.
You guys expect this one to be a high-scoring matchup the whole way through?
Between Pittsburgh and Detroit?
Oh, Anaheim and we saw just Pittsburgh now just score. I think that might be as well. But Vancouver, Anaheim, I mean, Vancouver certainly put up a lot of goals, but they also gave up a lot in that first round. Even with a 4-game sweep, they had some opportunities, some chances to maybe play a little better, make some mistakes, as we heard earlier in the pregame. I kind of feel like maybe this could be a high-scoring series, Vancouver and Anaheim the whole way.
Yeah, I definitely think maybe here tonight and maybe tomorrow. But I mean, if it goes past Wednesday, I think that your defense is really going to have to kind of step up and take blame for what's gone wrong, or maybe make some adjustments to kind of change something so it's not such high scoring.
Yeah, exactly. These two teams are really heavy. I mean, Vancouver really is pretty much, they're really strong offensively. Anaheim too, but I think Anaheim is more stronger on the defensive side of the puck, from their goalie and all the way to their defense, really.
Let's take a look at that game by itself for a little bit here. We'll get back to the quad box later. St. Louis just scoring again now, 6-0 over Minnesota, 14-14 left to go in the second period. Pittsburgh, second period over, 5-2 over Detroit still no score. Montreal and Ottawa. Halfway through the first.
I know, right?
Power play for Anaheim, as you see.
Was that a power play? Was that a power play? It was a power play. Yeah! Maybe. I don't know.
Ottawa taking a 1-0 lead now against Montreal with a power play goal. 8:45 left to go in the first. Detroit-Pittsburgh just starting the third. So we'll switch back over and catch a good chunk of that. Pittsburgh still up 5-2 here. And you see Anaheim kills off the penalty. So let's kick over to Detroit-Pittsburgh. Take a look at that one for a little while. Pittsburgh starting this one with a power play. And again, getting a lot of good opportunities, it looks like.
Thank you, Steel City. It's courtesy of T-Sibs. We'll follow him on Twitch. It is, what is it, T-Sibs? What's your Twitch?
T-Sibs88, and actually it's also in the chat for WEHL. It's in the league chat. I put a post in there for both my Twitch and for the Sportscast, the WEHL Sportscast on YouTube. So you can watch it on either one right now.
Vancouver and Anaheim is now tied 1-1 with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the first.
Ottawa now up 2-1 over Montreal. 2.5 left to go in the first period. We'll show you a little bit of that game in a minute. Meanwhile, we've got this third period here so far. Nobody doing any scoring. Detroit trying to get something going, but Pittsburgh has really been on the attack so far in this period.
I know, dude. Not a year ago, you should have done it. You really want to?
8-0 St. Louis, 24 seconds left to go in the second period. Minnesota, you hate losing a game, period, but getting beaten up like this in the first game, really just setting the tone against them. Detroit gets on the board, as you see, and now has a 5-2 deficit to make up. 8:43, plenty of time to do it, but a lot needing to be done at this point.
It's very possible here. I mean, they could possibly sneak, 2 goals here with, 7 minutes left. It's very possible, as we've seen before. Especially with a team like Detroit, who's very top-heavy on forwards.
And it looks like Pittsburgh forcing on there. But it looks like we have second intermission. St. Louis still, again, 8-0. Second period just starting. Vancouver and Anaheim tied up at 1. And second just starting with Ottawa ahead of Montreal 2-1. Montreal had a power play, just killed, and now Ottawa at even strength. We'll keep on this game for now. Pittsburgh, Detroit, as we got 4.5 left to go, as you see. Three minutes, you see Pittsburgh still up 5-3. Getting a good opportunity there. I feel like when you got possession in Detroit zone with that 2-goal lead, you don't want to make mistakes. If you're a defenseman, you don't want to be pinching in. You want to stay up high. You don't want to take chances. And it seems like the Pens are doing that for the most part.
Oh, and Detroit almost made it a 5-4 game there, but just missing out on the opportunity to score right there, right in the slot.
You see 40 seconds left to go. Detroit, not much time to do anything here. Montreal has just tied up their game with Ottawa halfway through the second. 9-1 St. Louis in front of Minnesota. Let's watch the last 25 here. And Pittsburgh puts one in, and that pretty much seals it now. 21 seconds left to go with Detroit. And a 6-3 lead right now. The final seconds tick off. Pittsburgh trying to go empty net here, but yeah, there's not much you can do at this point.
And that is the final score. Pittsburgh 6, Detroit 3.
We'll kick over to the St. Louis, Minnesota game here. But the final score there, as you see, 6-3, the final. With Pittsburgh taking game 1. Detroit. Go ahead.
And like we said before, we're just looking at this. Looking at this game, like we said before, Minnesota, they had a rough go the first game of their last series, but then came back to win the series. I do hope that they could, possibly do the same here. I hope that not every game is going to be a blowout like this, obviously.
And you see St. Louis, another goal on there, 10-1 right now. Tell you what, we'll keep an eye on that one, but we'll kick you over to Ottawa and Montreal for the last minute or so here in this period. 2-2, you see this one staying pretty close at this point.
Truthfully, this might be a series to watch this second round here. And you got two teams that are kind of underrated, and you've got the comeback story of the season in Ottawa or in Montreal. I think that this one could be one of those that possibly go 7, but could also go forward if it, you know, if one team isn't on their, isn't right there where they need to be.
Kick over to Vancouver, Anaheim right now. 2.5 left to go in that game. I'm sorry, not in the second period, with that game tied up at 1. So a couple of good games here finishing up, going into the third period shortly. Meanwhile, Minnesota taking a drubbing, 10-1 right now, just under 3 minutes left to go in that game. And I'm not sure what you tell your team after that. Obviously, they struggled that first game against Seattle, giving up 7 goals. I believe it was a 7-4, 7-3, 7-4 final. But, you know, that is something that you can say, okay, gave up a lot of goals, but we still put some on the board. Let's tighten up on defense. But a 10-1 loss, guys, I don't know what you say to your team after something like that.
Yeah, I think after a 10-1, you just gotta kind of go back in and, you know, regroup as a team, regroup as a whole. You know, get in your Discord. Don't you know, don't let anybody talk down anybody, and just kind of, you know, stay positive about the series there. You know, I mean, it is only one game, and it's not over. You know.
Yeah, if I was Ontario Guna, I would just tell my guys, you know, just to keep calm, you know, regroup, and you know, try to keep that locker room as calm as possible. And it's a little rough losing your first game. Current score is 11-1 right now, St. Louis, with 50 seconds to go. But it's just one of those things, you know. You gotta regroup. I mean, you can't go down like this. I mean, it's unfortunate, you know. So let's see if Minnesota can bounce back for game 2.
Vancouver and Anaheim about ready to start up their third period. We'll get to Ottawa, Montreal. They're still tied at 2, 17.5 left to go there. As you see the end of this game, St. Louis and Minnesota will stay on until it's over. Last couple of seconds to go. As a goaltender, I got to tell you, it's pretty demoralizing to have that many pucks go past you, and you don't know what you could do differently unless you're making some real drastic mistakes out there. Typically, it's not the goaltender who necessarily had a bad game, and that was the only reason, maybe part of the reason. But it's usually you let up 11 goals, it's a whole defensive collapse in a game like that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and you get a lot of these like St. Louis that, you know, they play a very some guys would say a rag the puck style of play, but I mean, it's really just a, you know, it's a very puck possession style of game. And you just got to, you know, you got to work with what you get and make the best of the chances you're going to have.
Knuckler's had the hat trick, but RV clutched 7 goals in that game. 29 shots on goal as opposed to 5 for Minnesota.
Oh,
that is tough.
Yeah, very tough.
Vancouver and Anaheim still tied at 1, 12.5 left to go. So these games are a couple of minutes difference. We'll stick with Montreal and Ottawa, but we've got 2 tied games right now to look at.
Yeah, still a 2-2 game here. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a goal bound to happen very soon. And just like that, Montreal is now on their power play, so let's see if they can get something going here.
Wow. And Montreal taking the lead.
Yeah, wasn't that? That was a glitch. That was a glitch shot on you.
Well, there's a lot of those, huh? Power play goal puts them ahead.
Sinon, c'était pas là, on a pris le jeu à la fin.
9 minutes left to go in the third. Vancouver and Anaheim still tied at 2.
Okay. It's not where I passed it.
And there's a tying goal right there for Ottawa. Staying on top of it. Good play. Good passing in front.
Just a shit.
Icing. I got it.
The Senators in their own end have control of the puck. Davis is looking towards center ice, hoping to make a play from his own end. Nice work by Jose. Center ice.
That's icing. And then I had a half a joint go flying somewhere. And it's gone.
Oh.
Yeah. That's some interesting stuff there.
It wasn't lit though. Full grab it. Nice.
Both of these games are coming down to the wire here. Both tied, so going to give you a chance to look at both of them at the same time here. See Montreal and Ottawa on your left, 51 seconds left to go. 1:35 on the right, Vancouver and Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and overtime playoff action is just, you know, it's even more intense than what just normal playoff hockey is.
And we see Montreal and Ottawa are going to overtime. Will Vancouver and Anaheim do the same? Ducks trying to make a move here. Offsides.
Yeah. Very interesting to see if 2 out of the 4 games go to overtime tonight in the first games.
Well, the first 2 games, pretty high-scoring affairs that finished, and obviously one a complete blowout and the other one a 6-3 win for Pittsburgh, but these two have been much closely contested. I'm sorry, that was a timeout there, Vancouver and Anaheim. So they got a few seconds left to go. And same thing with Montreal and Ottawa. So it was a timeout, I think, in that game. Watching the last few seconds tick off here. And Vancouver and Anaheim will go to overtime. Get you to look at the last few seconds here separately, Montreal and Ottawa.
Take it in. Take it in, take it in.
Montreal maybe one more chance here. Puck is loose. Ottawa gets it out, and that'll end the period. So, 2 overtime games here in round 1, first game. One in the West and one in the East.
Yep. Like I always say, there's nothing better than playoff hockey.
That's true. I mean, I've played in several leagues. I know you guys have been playing in leagues and what have you. Regular season, you kind of, I don't know, I kind of feel like you push through it. You have your ups and downs during the season. you try and hope to push through the issues that you have and just win enough to get in the playoffs, because it's such a different animal once you get into the playoffs, and it doesn't really matter what you've done in the regular season. Anybody can beat anybody, and it just opens up to some tremendous chances to maybe upset somebody.
Rebound.
Welcome back, Knucklers.
Hey, thanks for having me back, boys.
Yep.
Woo. Good save.
It's like we got 2 OT games here. That's good stuff.
Yeah, we're taking
For sure. I mean, two very close games. Despite the other 2 games that were previously playing, both of them were pretty bad blowouts. But these games are pretty interesting so far. So just have to see.
Yeah, sorry we couldn't put a more entertaining game out there for you guys. But who's been carrying the play in these games? It's been pretty even.
I think it's been pretty even in terms of, Montreal and Ottawa have been pretty even. I mean, Vancouver and Anaheim, I mean, it looked like it was all Vancouver until towards the beginning of third period, so.
Okay, we'll see how these guys perform under pressure in playoff OT hockey.
Nice.
I kind of expected a higher scoring matchup between these 2 teams, and here's Vancouver. Oh, golden opportunity, could not connect. But I did expect to see a few more goals in this one.
Did you guys catch much of my game at all?
Oh yeah, we covered it all.
Oh yes.
We've been all
I just
over the
wasn't
place.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, RV and myself, we were just clicking that game, and him knew the NHL, getting him a lot of opportunities, and everybody got a lot of touches that game. So, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you came out with the hat trick, but it wasn't the most impressive offensive game on your team.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Well, you know.
Nah, me and RV are boys, man. His success is my success, and vice versa. So, we're just happy to get the win.
Nice.
Certainly.
I don't care if it's a penalty. That was a good hit.
I got to feel like, I mean, maybe that game could have been a 3-3, 4 going to overtime, 4-3 win. Maybe a little bit better game, but it just didn't quite turn out that way.
Talking about my game?
Yeah.
That's a penalty.
Thought it might be a little closer.
Bullshit penalty right there too.
What I saw there, the entries were just way too easy for us. Game 2, they're going to have to trap a little bit more and clamp us down. And they also didn't get a lot of puck possession in the zone. It was in and out. They were trying to dangle and easy takeaways, and we were off. And the reason the entries were so clean, it was odd man rushes. They were going 3 deep and quick turnovers, and then we had numbers going the other way. So it's a little too easy getting in the zone, and maybe they'll make the necessary adjustments for game 2.
That's a lot of adjustment that's going to be needed, because it is, there's a lot that you can look at and say there needs to be some, changes, and it was just a lot of things not going well.
Yeah, and if I was their owner, I would tell them to settle down, and they need to get more puck possession in the zone. It was too much of an individual effort trying to dangle past the D-man, and when I'm their center help, it's a 1-on-2 essentially, and they just didn't find much success. So we'll see what they do. Looking forward to it.
You see under 7 minutes left to go in the Ottawa-Montreal game, 5 minutes left to go in the overtime. Vancouver and Anaheim, and now Vancouver getting a power play. Let's see how that one works out.
But it went that way. What the fuck? But damn it. I hate icing on it because it's a momentum.
Getting a lot of bonus action here in round 1.
Oh, as a media member, you gotta love the bonus action, don't you, Sibs?
Of course. I mean, this is why we're here. This is what we're looking at. We don't want to see teams get blown out. But
yeah, and I must say, the double screen is such an upgrade. That's beautiful for our viewers and listeners here.
We had 4 streams up there earlier, but wanted to try and keep it simple. But with these 2 games in overtime, this is the time to see it.
Oh, you went with the fan favorite quad box.
For a little bit. I don't have all the technical ability of Red Zone, so.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm a Red Zone viewer. I guess you could call me a millennial, but yeah, I mean it's great to see. I'm sure the viewers are enjoying it. Hopefully, it's appreciated.
Oh yeah, I know we've gotten a lot of great feedback on the YouTube channel. You know, they're enjoying what we're doing, and that's always good.
So who would you say are the favorites in these 2 series?
I would have thought Anaheim, quite honestly, in the West, and you know, the other one, you know, it's a coin toss, really.
Yeah, and I mean, playing in multiple leagues and teams, game 1 is crucial. It really sets the tone for the series. As you know, a lot of players in this community tend to be a little emotional. So if you can get that first win, it keeps everyone calm and no one has a freak out. So it's definitely important for these 2 teams to get this OT winner.
Vancouver's going to have another power play coming up, a 5-on-3 for 34 seconds. Minute and a half left to go in this first overtime. Meanwhile, Montreal, Ottawa with the Habs on a power play right now. And a quick shot there, and Vancouver has won it in overtime. 5-on-3 is awfully hard to deal with. That is a tough way to lose. But Vancouver taking that game and taking game 1 of the series.
What a win for Vancouver. I mean, wow.
And Montreal just winning their game now with an overtime tally.
Oh yeah. Those 2 games we just watched, those 2 series are definitely going to be potential game 7s, both of them.
So you see that final, and now the playoffs right now. You see the final scores with St. Louis taking game 1, 11-1 to Minnesota. They lead their series 1-0. And it's Vancouver just beating Anaheim in overtime 3-2. Montreal in overtime as well, a 4-3 win. And the other Eastern Conference matchup with Pittsburgh beating Detroit by a score of 6-3. So some pretty good games to start with, and a couple of games a little bit lopsided. So not necessarily all the quality in all the games, but some pretty good action as we saw. And what's your guys' impression so far in this first game in round 2? 2 overtime games, but I don't think it's unexpected from those 2 matchups. I think they're pretty even. It's not a shock that they were going to be close games between Vancouver and Anaheim and Montreal and Ottawa. Like I said, I would have thought the Vancouver-Anaheim game might have been a little more high scoring, but again, not surprised with the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, despite the 2 blowouts, I think those blowout games or those series are going to be fairly competitive. Like I said, I believe I think it was Sunday. I believe I had a prediction that most of these series are going to end in 6 or 7 games. I mean, I can't really see a sweep in any of these series. So it's just one of those things. I mean, I think it's been a pretty interesting first game for round 2 for all series. I mean, despite Minnesota getting a little a heartbreaker, I should say, losing 11-1. It's kind of tough to bounce back from that, but let's see if Minnesota can bounce back from a loss like that and come into game 2 and firing on all cylinders against a really strong St. Louis team. And for the Detroit Pittsburgh first game, I'm a little shocked there, but I know Pittsburgh is a pretty good team, and they definitely did not take that Detroit team lightly, kind of like what Philly did in the first round. And I'd have to say Ottawa and Montreal. That series for sure, I think, is going to be really good. And it went into overtime the first game, so obviously these two teams are pretty evenly matched. And Vancouver, Anaheim, that's another series I can see possibly going to 7 games as well, for sure.
Yeah, the Detroit game, Detroit-Pittsburgh, and again, guys, I want to go over that a little bit because while we did have, that was a 6-3 final, I mean, we saw a lot of wide-open play early on, and maybe, maybe Detroit getting a little tense after not being able to put some scoring up right away in that game. And having good games going too with good players. I mean, with It's Days in there, he's going to be here in Game 2 as well. What do you tell Detroit about Pittsburgh? What do they need to concentrate on, Dog? Why don't you answer first?
To Pittsburgh to concentrate on, or
yeah,
I think they really gotta concentrate on really, just playing their game. I think they can't get really distracted much by because I'm sure Detroit, as we all seen, at least us media has seen, that Detroit is playing their top line for games 1 and 2 tonight. So Detroit already played their first game with their top line, but I do think Pittsburgh. They just gotta, play their game just like they did against the first game against them, and they keep playing like what they've been doing. I think it can be a really tough, hole to climb out of for Detroit. I think if that's the case, I think Pittsburgh can possibly run away with that series, but I still don't think it's going to be a sweep.
I think Detroit and Pittsburgh are going to try and turn around and play this game as quickly as they can. So they're gathering in the Detroit locker room. I think Pittsburgh is also getting pretty close. They've got everybody. So we should be seeing that game start up shortly, which would be nice to get to one a little bit early. Meanwhile, the other teams will see what's going on there. Anything different for you guys on St. Louis for this game too?
Go ahead, Dog.
Okay. I think. I just think St. Louis needs to come into the series and come into game 2, I should say, and just keep playing their game like they've been playing. Really, that's really all they gotta really focus on.
And like I said, we're still looking for a few streams to show up here, so hopefully we'll have something for you guys shortly on some of the other games. Again, just to go over what we saw in the first round, we took a look at the scoreboard here in Game 1, and you see St. Louis leading the series 1-0 with a blowout there. Minnesota needing to regroup and come back. 11-1 loss isn't going to mean anything if they can come back and win Game 2. You see Vancouver beating Detroit in overtime 3-2. Vancouver beating the Ducks 3-2. Pittsburgh over Detroit 6-3, and Montreal in overtime beating the Sens 4-3. Red Wings and Penguins about ready to start, so we'll kick it over to that game and take a look at that one while we try and pull up some of the other streams of the other games. But this one, interesting game. We'll see how this turns out. You see Days is in there. Epic Kills on the other side, playing for Pittsburgh in this one. So we'll see how this turns out.
Also, I want to point out Welcome to the media stream, Pucker. What's up, man?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Oh, but I
Thanks
didn't
for
see you
having me.
sneak in there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, staying quiet. Yeah, what I like about this matchup that Detroit and Pittsburgh are about to undertake is that the line's exactly the same from game 1 to game 2. So it'll be interesting to see if Detroit's first line can answer back. I think that if they cannot, I think Pittsburgh's got a good chance of going on to sweep this series. So this is a big, big game for Detroit to really come back and show what they're made of.
Yeah, and I called out Days in the Discord, and I said that you have to have a big series. Series 1, he was not too productive. The second line actually carried them to the series win. So I wouldn't say if they did lose this game, it'd be a sweep, because I do believe Detroit has the better second line than Pittsburgh. So that's obviously a quick start here, and that's huge. Get the confidence going, and we'll see how this game plays out. But I wouldn't call it a sweep if Pittsburgh wins this game.
Well, Detroit's definitely doing what they need to do by scoring that first goal and setting the tone in the second game. Hope they can keep it up.
Feared, how important is it to you to get on the board first in the playoff game?
I think Fear is no longer with us tonight.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize he was gone. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We should look at it.
Yeah, but I mean, the first goal is crucial. It really changes the tone of the game. Yeah, especially as a center. You can get a little more defensive, know that you have the lead, shut them down a bit, and then pick your spots when you want to get aggressive. So, and then if you go down a goal, you have to get a little more aggressive and take chances. So first goal here, I think Day scored that, which I just said he had to step up. So that's huge for his confidence.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps. You know, when you're already down in the series and then you go down in the game on the first goal, there's so much more pressure in that game to make something happen. And you want to balance your aggression versus your patience, because you don't want to put yourself in bad positions to where you make a bad situation worse. You've got to pick your spots and be aggressive where you can, but definitely more pressure if you're down in the series and you go down on the first goal.
And it should be interesting to see this game too. As you mentioned, it's the same line, so we'll see the adjustments they made with the little 30-minute break there.
Yeah, this was a good chance for the coaches and the owners to really talk to their team, and kind of like you said earlier, they need to settle their guys down and get ready for this next game.
Yeah, I didn't have to do much coaching that first game, but I'm always on my guys, telling them what I'm seeing, what adjustments we need to make to become more successful. I wonder who the leaders are on this Detroit team. I don't know if it's Days or their owner, but obviously they came out strong, and we'll see if they can close this out.
About halfway through the first, you see Pittsburgh not on the board yet.
Yeah, Mark, if you stay right there when they're trying to break out, they'll have nothing.
You can hear Detroit strategizing a little more defense, and I think that's an important thing.
When you can see their forecheck too, that they've tightened up quite a bit on their forecheck. They've got 5 guys back below the red line. They're really not trying to let this Pittsburgh team bring it into the zone very easily, at least.
Yeah, and a common mistake with a lot of guys who aren't as experienced is they dump the puck. You do not want to dump the puck in this game, because that's essentially a turnover, especially if you have good puck-moving D back there. So you really got to regroup, reset, and try to gain the zone with possession. That's the most important part in this game, that I see a lot of teams dump it, and that's just a huge mistake.
You really feel that's not even something to do, it's just as a change of pace once in a while?
I think it also depends on your forecheckers. How good are your forecheckers, and how big are they? Like, if you've got a bunch of small forecheckers, if you dump it, I agree with White. I think it's a turnover. I don't think you'll get much chance to recover the puck.
Hold it. Oh yeah, hold it to the right.
And that is if the team has good puck-moving D. If they're struggling to move the puck, the dump's not a bad play. I'm just very against it, personally.
Now, one play I like,
They're gonna try and run back.
the harder round. I know it's technically considered a dump, but depending on the positioning of the D guys, the harder round is a good play to get the puck in deep, and the chances of recovering that puck, as long as your winger's staying wide and going hard and fast, is pretty high. So I like that play more than I like just the regular old dump and chase.
Hey, Mark, try.
Man, it's a game of chess too, right? You're giving them different looks every time up the ice. You're seeing how guys are moving. So it's really just a game of chess, seeing how their pieces are moving, and then solving the puzzle.
Controlling the play. Pass attempt to Salvador.
And that is easier said than done. Everything happens split second. But the more games you get in, the more experience it slows down.
Just read that, but Mark. There you go.
So I didn't watch the earlier games, but my game, we were very puck possession heavy. And that's a style I like to play, and it's tough to defend, and it draws a lot of penalties, which they took quite a few. So I think it worked out for us, and we're going to try to do the same thing in game 2.
Yeah, essentially it's defense by means of offense. If you have the puck, they can't score.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's my motto.
Or someone that's in our.
See, one period over, the Detroit ahead 1-0. Pittsburgh actually more shots on goal there, 6-4 in the first period. So getting some opportunity, but not necessarily getting all the best chances in the world. And Pittsburgh really with time, 3:35 to 1:21 from Detroit. So Detroit's still having to play more defensively, but they're playing smarter defensively, and that's been able to give them a 1-0 lead so far.
And if you noticed in this game, the adjustment I would make if I'm on Pittsburgh is they're just working everything low, trying for those quick wraps. They need to use their points if they want to score some goals. Get some greasy goals.
They wind up having an issue there.
Seems like a lag out.
Lag out, yeah. So Montreal, they're still trying to get that game together, and don't have a stream for anything else just yet. So it isn't quite 10 o'clock, so it might be that we got a few starting late, but we've got a couple of streams ready to go. When the game is ready to go, hopefully we will find out what's going on with this game between Detroit and Pittsburgh. So far, nothing really there to look at, and we'll get you back there as soon as we get an update from that game. Meanwhile, let's talk about that first period with Detroit playing certainly much better defense, like we mentioned, but they really do seem to still be on their heels against Pittsburgh's offense. Is anyone surprised at how well the Penguins have played offensively? I mean, obviously they had a good matchup with the Islanders before things fell apart in that series, but they seem to really be taking it to Detroit in their zone and moving the puck around. Then, even though Detroit's now giving them the point, they're still keeping up with puck possession, and I think maybe giving up the point is going to help Pittsburgh in the long run hold on to the puck. Maybe not as good a quality offensive opportunities, but if Pittsburgh can hold on to it, we've seen so far that gives Detroit a lot less time to have any kind of possession and do something with it. So far, they've gotten away with it. They have a 1-0 lead, but how long is that defensive strategy going to hold up for them?
Well, they scored first, right? So until it's 1-1, they're going to take what Pittsburgh is doing. They're just working it low. Essentially, it's a 3-on-5 game down there, and they're just not adjusting, giving it to the points. So if they don't change it up, Detroit's just going to be content with that 1-0 lead and let them play low all day long. So, I mean, we'll see if they make this adjustment. I'm curious to see, but I got to take off, boys. I got my game. I'm looking forward to you calling it.
All right, man.
Sorry for lagging out there, boys. I had a technical difficulty earlier.
No problem.
What's up, Zomboy?
Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
It happens.
Shit does happen.
Welcome to the stream, man.
Yes, sir. Good game. Pittsburgh's doing good. Good for them.
Montreal getting their team together. It looks like Detroit has gotten everybody back. Not sure who lagged out. I'm not sure if you guys saw what happened in that
we
game.
lost a D-man, or we lost a winger, it looked like.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think we lost a winger, and yeah.
So you're going to have to take a penalty to start.
I think that's how
It was only you. Okay.
I believe so. Yeah, they got me riding the pine tonight in Detroit.
Well, you could think of it as saving the best for last.
You know, I wasn't gonna say it, but no.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Perfectly fine.
So, what did you think about the game one between Detroit and Pitt?
You talking to me, the guy in Detroit?
Yes.
Well, I feel like our defensive aspect did not show up at all, and they worked it, and then they worked it, and they worked it, and now everybody grouped up in the chat room, and they talked for a couple minutes, and they switched up the gameplay from what I saw that first period before it lagged out a little bit more defensively, like what's his buddy was saying there about the 3-man deep. So I hope it keeps working for them and they don't get it high.
Pucker, who's
what kind of?
Oh, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. You go.
I was just going to ask you. So what kind of that 30 minutes in between the two games? What kind of adjustments was made in the locker room for Detroit and how they're going to attack this game? What can we expect to see throughout the rest of this game?
Well, I think if anybody watched the game, it's no secret that we needed to cover up that middle for that one guy just ripping it every time they fed it over, right? So our biggest challenge right now is just covering that middle, making sure they don't get that shot off. And I've noticed they're not utilizing their defense as much as they were last game, so hopefully they're not doing that.
But, a little bit of a problem trying to take that penalty. There we go. Now it's over the boards. And so Detroit will be on the penalty kill to start this second period.
They were a lot more focused this game. That was our first game coming back with fat heads. I think it needed it was a good little wake-up call. Maybe, you never know.
So hopefully that lag out doesn't hurt Detroit here. Holding on to a 1-0 lead. Penalty kill. But they bring the puck in the zone and get a good opportunity there. Not sure where the Pens defense was, but they were allowing Detroit to walk right in there. And now they set up for the power play. And right off the play there, a good shot from the point. A lot of traffic in front, but he gets credit for the goal. So Pittsburgh is tied it up 1-1 now.
It's so confusing, 1-0 from 1-1.
I know.
So what period are we in, guys?
I believe the second.
This would be the second, yeah.
Second. Okay. Yeah, and now it shifts. You know, in the first game, Pittsburgh had all of the pressure, minus the first goal. So it'll be interesting to see what changes are made between these two teams, and if Detroit, is able to come back down and answer that goal, which is what they need.
Montreal's taking a 1-0 lead in the first, 14:20 left to go there in the first period.
Oh, big save. There you go, boys.
Vancouver still trying to gather in their locker room. I don't have anything from Minnesota St. Louis just yet.
What was the final score of that series? Or that first game, sorry?
The Minnesota St. Louis, it was the Blues 11-1. Yes, you heard that.
Dominating performance by the Blues.
There's the man of the hour, Daisy.
And Detroit coming right back and putting themselves back ahead 2-1 now. Playing better defense, but also getting some better offensive opportunities as well. So far, a little bit better game for the Red Wings.
Oh, it wasn't an offside. Okay. You guys put on a hell of a show there. I just wanted to tell you it's fun listening to you guys.
Thank you, sir. So, Puck, what have you been seeing so far in the first game? What surprised you in the first game for all 4 series?
I mean, I really like the fact that, we had a good mix of games. It wasn't all straight blowouts. Round 2, you kind of expect the competition level to more or less even out, even more so in round 3.
Sure.
So I'm glad that not all 4 games were a blowout. I was really impressed with the way, all 4 winners were able to get business done in the first round. I mean, the first game of this round. Definitely, the most impressive was Pittsburgh's win over Detroit, and they just seem to have Detroit's number. And then St. Louis Blues just dominating performance in their game as well. Definitely was. I wouldn't say surprise. I would say it's surprising that it was that much of a blowout in round 2 of the playoffs. Round 1, you expect that type of stuff to happen, but not round 2.
14.
I don't know, man. Some teams are still getting adjusted.
No, go ahead.
I don't believe. I don't know. I'm just gonna say I believe some teams are. And I'll speak for my team. When you have a couple of guys that are used to being on the same line and they all of a sudden can't make it, it throws a little bit of stuff off, right?
Right.
Oh,
From what
definitely.
I've seen, and
And availability makes a huge difference on the success of whether or not a team's going to be able to perform well in the playoffs. If you're limited on who gets to play with who, and like you said, and the line's been playing together the entire season, but all of a sudden playoff times and you got to play with new guys, it throws everything off a little bit.
Montreal's just gone up 2-0 now late in the first period. Minnesota St. Louis, no score, 13 left to go in the first. Power play for Minnesota right now.
So an interesting note on the St. Louis and it was Seattle that who's St. Louis playing?
They're playing Minnesota right now.
Yeah. So the interesting note between St. Louis and Minnesota is that the only changes between Game 1 and Game 2 is St. Louis's left wing was replaced. It was RV Clutch who had 7 goals, and Hornet's going to come in. So we'll see if their point production goes down. And then on Minnesota, they only had 1 change in their line as well. They changed out their right wings. Can't remember the 2 gentlemen's names, but so it'll be interesting to see if Minnesota can increase their point production, and if St. Louis takes a hit because they lost their 7-goal scorer from Game 1. Maybe a closer match this second game.
following that, Detroit seemed to bag another one.
Nice.
So Detroit up now 3-1 as the second period ends, as you see it right now. We'll switch over and take a quick look at the Minnesota-St. Louis game. As you see, no score, 7 minutes left to go in the first. Ottawa, Montreal, the Canadiens up 2-0 as they just started the second period. And Vancouver, Anaheim still waiting to start.
The Canadians, they're doing good. They went on a tear after Christmas, I guess you could say.
Kind of like a Cinderella story, made for the movies. So Zomboy, if you were say you were playing in this series, how would you feel going into the third period? Knowing that you're down 1 in the series, but you're up in that game, 3-1. How do you see yourself playing in that type of situation?
I honestly, I don't know. I'm so focused on watching right now. I kind of almost forgot what you said. I'm
just trying to say, if you put yourself in your teammates' shoes, how do you see yourself playing in that situation? Are you comfortable, or are you playing tight?
That's when I thrive, bro.
St. Louis, Detroit just scoring again. They still have a long power play right now. We'll get over to that and take a look at it. But another goal for Detroit. They're up 4-1 now in this. And have come back strong in Game 2 here.
Yes, sir.
We'll keep on this one. Since it's going to end the soonest, we'll keep a look at this one for a little while. We'll head over to Ottawa, Montreal. Looks like Minnesota's gone ahead now. Late in the first period, 1-0 over St. Louis.
Wow. Let's see.
Dangerous play on the doorstep for Detroit, but covered and held.
Those Detroit goalies are key factors in this playoff race for us. I'll tell you that, man.
Minnesota's winning 1-0.
So which goalie would you give the edge to? Which one stands out and makes the clutch stage more so than the other?
We have two goalies that we basically swap back and forth, and they're both clutches. As clutch as can be, as far as I'm concerned.
Minnesota 1-0 lead after one period. And Montreal has just gone ahead 3-0 against Ottawa halfway through the second period. You see Detroit on the power play looking to try to extend that lead, and against Pittsburgh and their offensive possibilities, it's always a good thing to do.
What happened there with the power play? 5 minutes?
Yeah, it was a 5-minute major that was taken. But I tell you what, Detroit has definitely gotten a lot better on finding cross-crease opportunities. We're seeing some really good passing right across the slot, and that's been a big difference too.
Great defensive aspect too, man.
Well, again, yeah, I mean, you're 14 minutes into the with left in the third and only giving up one goal to Pittsburgh so far. That says a lot. Some good adjustments on defense.
I'm going to go with the fat head excuse from the first round. Oh, nice.
There you go.
Another one-timer and off the post.
Get that in. Get it in.
I can hear my boys screaming. It can get pretty wild over there. It can get pretty wild in Detroit.
You've got to love the excitement of playoff hockey. There's nothing quite like it.
Dude, it's lit for sure, man. It's funny.
Timeout right now. We'll take a look at Minnesota St. Louis with the Blues on the power play right now in the second period. As I said, Montreal up 3-0. Still nothing out of the Vancouver game. They're still looking to get started here. 4:50 left to go in the second with Montreal up 3-0.
Listen to that sexy owner telling everybody how to stay maintained and stuff. See, it honestly helps when you have people that get jumpy. It helps to have that guy relaxing everybody now and then.
Oh, without question. I think leadership during the game, a lot of talking. I think it's important. You got to be communicating. Yeah. If you're not, forget it.
All right, boys. Well, it was nice being on the show for the time I was on here, but I have to step out. Sibs, as you know.
Absolutely. And St. Louis, sorry, just tying the game up. Yeah, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And you see Pittsburgh now getting themselves on the board. So 4-2. Now Detroit ahead. 8:21 left to go in the third period.
Yeah. Really?
Plenty of time left, but chipping away a little bit there, making it tough.
Oh my God.
All right, fair enough, boys. Let's get another one, make them roll.
Pucker and Zomboy still here with me, and hopefully you guys can stick around.
Still rocking, man.
Yeah. That's fun. This is a fun series between Detroit and Pittsburgh. They're just throwing haymakers back and forth at each other. I don't like necessarily the blowouts, but when both teams can kind of go at each other, it makes it a lot of fun.
Guaranteed, man.
Halfway through the second, now St. Louis on top 2-1 in that game. So Minnesota loses that lead pretty quickly here in the second period.
You have the lineup for the St. Louis game in with you guys right now? I'd like to know who's playing on the points right now for St. Louis.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll pull it up.
Wow, a lot of ringing off the post there. A couple of shots, but the defense holding up here. And another one off a post. A lot of metal being hit by Pittsburgh and can't seem to find the back of the net just yet.
Quite the game.
It's maybe one of the most exciting that we've seen tonight.
Oh!
It looks like Josh the Boss and Nasty, Uncle, Dad is the two defensive pair for St. Louis in this second game.
And so now Pittsburgh, another goal, and Detroit now leading 4-3. 3:37 left. Yep, timeout taken. Certainly needed at this point.
I know when I've been in these situations, when it goes down to a 1-goal game, you're down 1 in the series, the emotions, the nerves start to really creep in there. You start almost trying to just keep yourself from making a mistake, and that's not the way you want to play. You want to play loose. You want to play comfortable. So it'll be interesting to see if Detroit can hold on to this 1-goal lead. The tendency is to kind of tighten up, and that's not what you want to do here.
Easier said than done. When you're in the heat of the moment, anything can happen.
Take a look at the last couple of minutes here in the third period with Detroit leading 4-3. We had a lag out after the first period, so it's a 4-3 Detroit lead right now. Last minute left to go in the third. Let's see if Detroit can hold on.
Oh, no. Come on, boys.
Get it out.
There we go. Good.
And Pittsburgh
There we go.
had some chances there, but cleared it right out of the zone, and Detroit will hold on for a victory here.
Oh, yeah, boys.
Oof. Close call. There were 3 guys right in front of the crease, and that's part of what you guys were dealing with there in the third period. Pittsburgh decided to start planting several guys right in the crease and picked up a couple of goals because of it, but able to hold on there at the end and take a victory. Meanwhile, we will take a look at Minnesota and St. Louis, and look at that game for a little while here. Get you an update. It is Montreal over Ottawa now halfway through the second, 4-0. We'll take a look at that. Second intermission, as we said, St. Louis leading Minnesota. Vancouver and Anaheim has started up. They're in the first period still. Halfway through, no score with Vancouver on the power play right now.
Let me see if I can get one of the Detroit lads in here tell you the excitement he was feeling during that second game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Meanwhile, we'll listen and watch Montreal and Ottawa.
Grab that pass in the neutral zone. That's a good fake out in the neutral zone. Slid to Tatar. World-class deep there. Anaheim's taken care of that penalty kill and done it well. Just inside the line. It's one of those restraining fouls. It's a hooking penalty, and the arm of the referee is up.
A lot of, we've seen a lot of penalties in these games tonight.
Yeah, I wonder if that's something these teams are going to go back and look at and say, hey, we need to adjust that. We need to be more disciplined in those situations. Break your X button, if you will, so that you don't take those bad penalties. When Montreal's really turned it on in this second game, they ended up winning the first game in overtime and really just controlling the tempo and controlling the pace in this the second game as well.
Third period underway. St. Louis leading Minnesota still 2-1. 17 left to go in the third period there. We'll keep on this game from now. We'll take you over to Minnesota, St. Louis when this one's done. And since Vancouver and Anaheim got a late start, we'll certainly wrap up with that one. Ottawa with the power plays, you see, needs something here.
good determination there by Neal.
Montreal's played almost perfectly this evening. They've gotten a few bounces along the way, but you earn your breaks. They have to be thrilled with their performance here.
The Senators' power play let them down at a very important time. Whistle is blown, and the guilty party heads off the ice. The Canadians have been handed a minor penalty for tripping.
The power play is all about adjustments. They need to find a way to get more people and pucks to the net.
Yeah, there's another penalty like you were talking about. Ottawa's still on the power play.
Doesn't look like it's going to lead to much, but let's keep an eye on this pushing and shoving moving forward.
And Ottawa's down one in this series, so they really need to try to turn it on and find a way to get a couple of goals here. Maybe take it to overtime and try to steal one.
And there you see Ottawa finally getting on the scoreboard. Do we have it stays for this for the interview here?
I just sent him an invite, but I'm not sure what he's. I think he's.
Okay, I just sent it as well. So from suggested, so I'll see if we can get him in here. And there he is.
What's up, Chief?
Days, congrats on that one. That was an interesting game, and boy, it really got tough down at the end, didn't it?
Hell yeah, I sure did. I mean, we kind of tried to play the defensive zone at the end there to keep the game going, or keeping the lead going, you know, and kind of screwed us over a bit, but kept it to a 1 goal.
Fuck, Mark played great centerman, man. Was that Mark?
Oh, yeah, compared to the first game? Yeah.
Dude, he played great. That defensive aspect changed everything.
Yeah.
Got 4:08 left to go in the third period. There's a timeout right now with Montreal leading 4-1. We're looking at St. Louis leading Minnesota right now in the third, and I think we may stick with that one. But, yeah, certainly you guys played a much better defensive game, and it looked like Pittsburgh was really struggling to find an opening, and then they just started swarming the slot. Were you guys able to pick that up, and what was the strategy then defensively?
Well, I mean, from what we saw in the first game, they would like to do the cross-crease one-timers, so we kind of stuck on that, and then we made them keep the puck down behind our net and just more focused on covering the one-timers and stuff. And then near the end there, they kind of got like 3 guys in the slot, and we were kind of scrambling a bit. And in the last like 10 seconds, luckily, they missed the
Daisy,
pass.
I gotta ask you, Daisy, what was going through your head in that last like 30 seconds, bro?
I was like, actually, honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest. I have no idea.
I was ripping my nails and my hair out of my head there, bud.
kind of, you know, nervous because once they were only down by 1, we didn't want them to get that like cross crease one-timer off there and tie the game, and you know, kind of nerve-wracking, but you know.
Yeah. For everybody, man, not just you guys.
Anything can happen, right? It's the playoffs.
Everyone's saying that our series is the most exciting one to watch, dude. So we got that.
Well, that's the thing. You know, don't know. Cap legged out.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, but at the end, the Penguins owner said he'll accidentally leg out because he said Cap just left. But you know, there's a storm over in Texas right now, and
Okay. Oh,
so
that sucks.
Cap actually, yeah. But hey, not complaining, all right.
Us when we were in this thing talking about it, watching, all of us were biting our nails. It was pretty entertaining. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I have to stream up.
Well, as soon as it ended, as soon as it ended, I told them I was going to tell them to get someone from Detroit because I wanted to hear about how it went.
Well, hey man, Cap's setting me up, dude. I got solid 4 goals that game, you know.
Nothing.
So, you know, kind of.
Yeah, Daisy, you had a huge game, and your team needed it. You know, being down 1-0 in the series, and you definitely were able to answer. I was just telling them that the nerves in that last minute of the game when they closed it to a 1-goal game just increase exponentially in playoff hockey, and that's part of what makes this so fun. At least, yeah, definitely.
I mean, yeah, it was fun games tonight. I didn't know how Pittsburgh played in the first game, like going into the first game there, so it was kind of just me getting used to how they played.
I kind of said too when they asked me. I don't remember them.
Yeah.
You see, Montreal has. Sorry, I'm just going to say, you see, Montreal has won their game by a score of 4-1. We do have an overtime game going on, or just about to start overtime right now, and that's St. Louis and Minnesota tied at 2, now about to start overtime.
Wow, that's crazy.
What a change in tempo. You change 2 out of the 12 guys, and you go from an 11-1 game to a 2-2 game going into overtime. That's crazy. That shows you how much chemistry can make or break a team.
Yo, Will,
and you got to give it to Minnesota for making the adjustments that they needed to make this series interesting. So,
pardon me, Daisy?
Did you see what Bear said in the Discord?
Bear loves talking. He's a good lad.
Yeah, well, he said you were biting nails, but he was picking his nose.
Bear's keeping it cool, getting that nose clean.
Bunch of beauties in Detroit, man. Bunch of beauties.
Yeah.
I gotta head off though, boys. It was nice chatting with you tonight. Hit me up next time.
All right, thanks, man. Good to have you here.
Yeah, man. Hit me up anytime, boys.
You got it. Take it easy.
All right, have a good one, guys.
All right. We thank Zombor and Its Days. Appreciate you guys for being on.
Thank you.
It's me and Lucky Pucker right now, bringing you home in the home stretch. We see this 2-2 overtime game right now going on. Meanwhile, the only other game right now happening, 5 minutes left to go in the second. Anaheim leading Vancouver 3-0 in that game now. Anaheim holds on. That could be a 1-1 series by time it's over.
Just under 7 minutes completed here in overtime. So far, 4 goals equally divided. Face-off win here.
Yeah, this definitely in this series, if Minnesota's able to steal this win, it's going to be huge. Honestly, I predicted.
Yeah.
Good.
There you go. St. Louis in the overtime wins it, and great effort by Minnesota, but St. Louis scoring a goal from every one of their forwards, as you see, and they win this one 3-2. Tough loss for Minnesota. Played well and played strong, but just not able to take this one, and so that series now finds Minnesota down 2-0 to St. Louis, and we have one game going on right now, the final game for the evening, Anaheim and Vancouver, as the second period is about ready to end. But yeah, tough overtime loss for Minnesota. They certainly have tried hard in this one, and there's not much you can do at that point. They certainly played hard that game, played a lot smarter, and certainly a really good effort by them. They didn't lose, they didn't lose the drive to play this one. They were there, and there's not much more you can do than to get out there and play and get your team to overtime. So good effort by Minnesota, but the Blues, who have yet to lose a playoff game now 6 in a row, have now taken a 2-0 lead in this series, as you see right now. And 3 series now, done with 2 games. Pittsburgh and Detroit now tied up at 1 apiece. Montreal has won the first 2 games, the first one in overtime. And we see Vancouver leading 1-0 in the series, but right now down in the third period in this game, 3-0. with a need to get some offense going here finally, if they can get that going. If not, they're going to find this series tied up at 1 as well.
Knucklers
is back.
Joining us again. Welcome back, buddy.
Oh, what
How
a
was
game,
that?
huh?
And we didn't
I was
catch.
to say, how was the difference between game 1 and game 2 for you?
I mean, there wasn't much of a difference in terms of the play. Their goalie just stood on their head. I think the time on attack was 13 and a half minutes to their minute and a half.
Yeah.
Their strategy was really just get it deep and hopefully get turnovers and score on them. They were fine just dumping it and trapping. So they ended up getting 2. Which obviously wasn't too happy with, but went into OT and I had confidence and we carried the play in OT and got it done.
Yeah, they certainly were playing much more of a conservative defensive game, and their goaltender certainly decided to stay pretty centered and not make too many rash moves in net. And look, you got a lot of time on attack, but I think you had your options at much better choices in the first game for shot opportunities than you did in that game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Their adjustment, they were just clogging 5 in the middle. So we were working to our points, trying to get shots through, and that was kind of our game plan. But kind of weird to see it end that way with us having 3 guys in front of the net and no defenders around. But it was a good finish, and hopefully we can finish this series off tomorrow.
It's a benefit to take 2 games like that and set yourself up to maybe close it out in one night. Are you concerned about your guys getting a little too overconfident? What's the feeling on your end about that?
Oh, no, I keep the boys in check. They sound pretty confident during the game, but it's not cocky, which is good to see. So we've been carrying the play. We'll see how they come out with a different lineup. But really, they didn't threaten us with any chances. So hopefully, I think I'm in one tomorrow, and then hopefully whoever else is in the lineup for our team can finish it off in game 4 if we do get that win game 3.
I was talking to T-Sibs earlier, that really between the 2 lines in the game, 1 versus game 2, there was only 2 guys that got switched out. It was RV Clutch got switched out for Cornet, and on their side, they only had 1 guy switched out. And the game goes from 11-1 to 2-2 overtime win with a goal for St. Louis. What's your take on that? What do you think about just how big of an impact did it changed the lines up a little bit there?
It was a big impact for me, losing Clutch. He was on my Detroit team in the league that we do not speak of. So we have a lot of chemistry, and he's also a fantastic player. So is Kornick, but we haven't had a ton of games together, so we lacked chem a bit. But in terms of the play, our breakouts are fine. Our zone entries are clean. I was working L2 pretty nice, getting those entries, and once we got the entries, they were giving up the points. So I'm not really sure what adjustments they should have to make. I'm not sure who switched out for them, but they definitely played a more strategic game that second game. I think if they played that style the first game, it would have been, I thought we would have won, but it wouldn't have been 11-1.
And maybe it may need to be their strategy the whole series, to try and steal a game. That's a tough way to play, to wait for an opportunity here and there. Everyone's used to playing this game, and you're used to having a good 13, 14, 15 shots on net. And when you're struggling to get anywhere near double digits, it's usually never a good sign for your team to win a game.
And I was telling my guys in the party, the other team they work hard all season, but these 2 games, especially that game 2, it's more like they were playing scared and they didn't want to lose rather than they were going for the win. So we'll see if they make that adjustment and actually go for the win. But what I saw is they were scared and they were really just trying not to lose that game, or as the result that we saw, go into overtime and get a lucky break, which is a good strategy, but my opinion, they were playing scared out there.
Well, I got to tell you, maybe you don't have a lot of chemistry with Kornick, but it's still Kornick. And this guy is well known in the game. He has a damn good reputation in other leagues. I've had to be in net against him, and it drives me nuts. Yes, maybe a bit of a change for you guys, but talent-wise, I don't think you lost a whole heck of a lot. But like you said, chemistry plays a part of it.
I completely agree with you. He's a great player, but we just don't have the chemistry when we're working those 2-on-1, two-man games.
Right.
I play with Clutch more, so I know his reads and what he's doing versus Kornick. So I learned a lot that game. It's in my mental notes, and we'll get better with that lineup change. It's only going to pay dividends.
I think what I'm really trying to say is I have no sympathy for you from going from RV Clutch to Kornick.
Oh, I'm not complaining one bit.
And I wasn't trying to dish on Kornick, but RV Clutch is. I know how good Kornick is. He's beat my ass a couple of times. So yeah, but RV Clutch is just a different beast, and the White Knucklers duo with him is just. It's fun to play with him. It's not so fun to play against.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, look, that's tough. You're like, oh well, RV's not going to be in this game. Okay, well, who's going to be in for him? Oh shit, it's Kornick. We're still fucked.
Yeah, Aubrey and Average, they did a good job putting a deep team together. So whoever I'm centering, I'm going to get good players, and I'm going to build chem. And like I said, playing with Kornick there, all it's going to do is pay dividends later in the playoffs.
And you've got iPass, who also is another well-known good player. You've got a lot of talent on this team.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to make a good cup run. Like I said, I hope we can finish it tomorrow. If not, our team is very built to go deep into a series. And right now, just doing a little scouting on this Anaheim-Vancouver game, they look good as well. So it's not going to be easy, but we're looking forward to this strong cup push.
Well, we saw Anaheim get one back, but Vancouver get one back, but still Anaheim able to take a victory in this one by a score of 3-1. So this series is now tied at 1 as well. And so we've got two series tied at 1, and the other two, we've got a situation where we've got teams leading 2-0. As we take a look at the playoff scoreboard here, and you're looking at what's going on in these first two games. Again, you see the final scores. St. Louis taking that first game 11-1, winning the next one in overtime 3-2. So good effort by Minnesota. Certainly came up with a good defensive strategy to try and slow down St. Louis, and they certainly did that, but just not enough opportunities for them to win this game. They really needed to have a 2-1 victory if they're going to have a shot in this one. Also in the West, you've got the series tied at 1, with Vancouver winning the first one 3-2 in overtime, and now the Ducks taking this one by a score of 3-1 in regulation. Over in the East, the first game, Pittsburgh beating Detroit 6-3, but Detroit also doing a very good job of circling the wagons and coming back with a better strategy, and able to make a good game of Game 2. Took a early good lead in that one. We're up 4-1. Pittsburgh fought back, got a couple more, and just could not get that last goal in. Detroit wins it, series tied at 1, and Montreal has played well. First game, an overtime victory, 4-3, and of course, second game, all Montreal winning that one 4-1. So, two series at 2-0, the other two tied up at 1-1. Let's talk to you guys now about what we've got coming up for tomorrow night. And Pucker, what do you think is the possibility of these series, the two that are tied at 1, finishing out tomorrow night? I'm sorry, the series that are 2-0. Is St. Louis going to close out Minnesota? Montreal and the Sens. Montreal's played really well that first game in OT. Do they have a chance of closing out tomorrow night?
I think
I'm going to start off with St. Louis. I know a lot of the players on St. Louis and how deep they are. Minnesota's a good team. They're just outmatched against a better team in St. Louis. St. Louis handled their business all through the regular season, and they're doing it again in the playoffs. I think St. Louis has a very good chance of going up 4-0 on Minnesota. And it's not to say that Minnesota's bad or they're not doing what they need to, because clearly they did what they needed to try to win a game in Game 2. It's just that the firepower on St. Louis is so high. I don't think that Minnesota will have a chance. At the very most, it'll go to 5. I don't see it going deeper than 5. And then jumping over to the East, Montreal, I was really impressed with how they came out in the second game and really put their foot on the gas pedal and was able to really just dominate that second game. And first game was nitty gritty, 3-3 going into the overtime, I'm pretty sure. And then second game, they were really able to step up and put the foot on the gas pedal. It'll be interesting to see how this team's second lines match up, and I think that's going to tell us whether or not that they could finish out this series. I think it's a lot less likely for Montreal to find a way to get out of this series 4-0 than it is for St. Louis. St. Louis is just so much deeper than Minnesota. I think they've got the better chance of these two sets of teams.
What's your take on that, Knucklers? Obviously, you probably don't want to talk about your own series, but Montreal and Ottawa, that first game, an overtime win for Montreal, but they played a lot better in the second game. Do they have enough of a squad here to take it in 4, or do you expect Ottawa to fight back and make it go to at least a Game 5?
Oh, I didn't get to see the games. I caught the end of the one overtime game after my own game. But, yeah, I mean, it seems like a pretty even series. So I don't think a sweep is going to happen. Montreal does look like the clear-cut better team. But I see that series, Montreal, in 5 or 6. In my own series, it's tough to say, right? Like, I want to say it's a sweep, but you just never know. Minnesota had a good game plan there, and if they get the correct bounces, they could take a game. But I see it as a sweeper in 5 for my own squad. I agree, right. And Pucker's analysis was spot on both series.
And with the series that are tied at 1, guys, let's head back over to Pucker. Anaheim, I think, played more of the game that I expected to see them play with their win in Game 2. But still, not a lot of scoring in this series, and I'm a little surprised at what I'm seeing so far. I think it bodes well for Vancouver if they can keep, Anaheim down to 2-3 goals. And they've done that the first 2 games. They win the first one in overtime. They're just not getting enough offense this time around, which is kind of odd. It seems like their defense is better. Their offense is struggling a little more. And I'm curious as to whether or not they make changes that may, bolster their offense, but they may sacrifice a little bit on defense to get that done.
Yeah, for sure. In Montreal, in game 1, actually between both of them, or not Montreal, the Vancouver and Anaheim. Sorry, switching gears. It was a very, very tight game. A lot of trap. It was very 5-man back. So not a whole lot of offense was put out in that first game. So I think those 2 series are definitely a lot closer than the other series we've talked about in this series. So it'll be interesting to see who's able to kind of take a step forward tomorrow night and see if somebody can jump ahead 3-1. If either of these 1-1 games go to 3-1, then the chances of them closing out that series is huge. So that's what I'm looking for tomorrow from these 2 teams that are tied up right now.
And for that series, you may know these guys a little bit better too, Knucklers. What do you anticipate Vancouver's going to have to do to maybe get a little more offense the way they did in the first round?
I think it goes back to what I've been saying. Just just make adjustments and work on getting clean entries in possession. Possession time in the opponent's zone is always key. It draws penalties. It causes stress on other teams. So I think that's the key to them. And then this Detroit series coming up, I believe the professor is back tomorrow. So if I was Pittsburgh, I really would have wanted to get those 2 games there. I know he's going to come out tomorrow night buzzing, and he's going to be anchoring that blue line, and I think he's going to be a difference maker. I like Detroit 2-0 tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
That much.
I see that series lead being 3-1 after tomorrow night.
Wow. Well, I mean, look, Detroit has obviously, they've been able to take a couple of games against a good team before in the same night, and it's certainly not, beyond their capabilities. But it looked like Pittsburgh was really going to give Detroit a run for their money, at least in these first 2 games. And I'm guessing what you're saying is they really needed to, and they had the advantage offensively. It looked like they did in the first game for sure. In the second game, they struggled early on. So you're thinking their strategy was to try and take these first 2.
Yeah, I think that was definitely key for them with Professor out of the lineup. I know he wants this cup bad, and he's going to come out flying tomorrow. So that was definitely key to get those 2. But Days stepped up. I heard you guys had him in for the post game. I don't know what he had to say.
Well, I mean, again, he saw a lot of what they were dealing with defensively, and I think you give up 6 goals, you're going to have a tough time winning a game. They gave up 3 in that second game, and really they had only given up 1 for a good chunk of the game until second half of the third period, where Pittsburgh found some better opportunities and were able to put a couple home. But it was a struggle for them to hold on late in that one. So I'm assuming, if you could bolster your defense enough where it's really going to be a difference maker, I think that could really be an issue for Pittsburgh. So I can see your point. I think Pittsburgh obviously needs to really find a way to take one tomorrow and keep this tied up if it's going to be that much of a struggle offensively for them tomorrow night. What was your thought on this series, Pucker, Detroit and Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think Knucklers mentioned it. Moraine is a really solid center, and his ability to really help the defense out, make their life so much easier. Definitely, he's going to have. I'm expecting him to have a huge impact. And not only is he good defensively, he's also good offensively. He's able to handle the puck well. He's able to get the puck to the open ice. He's able to create some offense for the other players, as well as if you've got a really offensive defensive man in the mix, he's able to jump back on D flawlessly. So I think he's going to have a big game tomorrow night, and if Detroit is able to win 2 tomorrow, then I think the series is theirs. I think if it goes 1-1, it's going to make it a whole lot tougher, and it probably will go to a Game 7. And the reason I say that is because in Game 1 and 2, even though Detroit jumped out to a quick lead, Pittsburgh really kind of controlled that game. They beat them on time on attack. They peppered them with shots. Detroit was able to hold on there in the last 30 seconds, but right there at the last 5 seconds, Pittsburgh has 3 guys in the slot wide open, and they just don't get the puck into the back of the net. So that could have gone either way. So tomorrow night's a big night for Detroit. They need to close this series, or at least take it to a 3-1 lead, and go from there.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts? One quick thought from you, Knucklers. What do you for tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'm chatting in the Discord here a little bit with Bear48, who's on Detroit, and I'm a big fan of Detroit, but he seems to be talking a little shit in here, and I guess he's coming on the show tomorrow. So
okay,
I'll be on here if you guys welcome me back, and we'll have some good banter.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Well, Bear's had a lot to say in the Discord chat, so it might be really interesting to get him on tomorrow.
Yeah, get him away from the keyboard, and we'll see how he is.
Pucker, any last thoughts? Games 1 and 2 tonight.
Well, I'm just really impressed with the first two games tonight for all the teams involved, and I hope these games continue to be fun to watch and cover.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for helping me out tonight. I appreciate it. And listen, best of luck to you, Knucklers. We'll definitely have you on as much as we can. And Pucker, by the way, did a lot of work for us with getting stats so we could talk more about these teams. I appreciate your help, bud. You did a lot of extra work for us today, and thank you for that.
No problem, guys.
All right, that's it for us tonight, guys. Thanks. I will talk to you both tomorrow night.
All right, always a pleasure, Sibs. Pucker.
Yep, sounds good. See you guys.
All right, that's it for this evening. Thanks to everyone for helping out tonight. We, of course, Ferret and Dog Chow for also helping us out and being part of the show as usual. They have done a great job for media this season, and we thank them for helping us out once again tonight. You folks have been watching the WEHL Season 1 playoffs right here on Twitch and on the YouTube channel for the World Hockey League. For Dog Chow, Ferret, White Knucklers, and Pucker, T-Sib saying so long. We will talk to you again tomorrow night with more action for Games 3 and 4.